Once, he was the one who made me unable to hold my head up in school. He turned every day into a nightmare with his heartless ways. But life is never short of surprises. One day, he suddenly stopped the pranks and made a request I never thought I'd hear. A date. Yes, you heard it right. Me, a girl who was once laughed at by him, is now being invited to spend quality time with him. Wondering how I responded. Keep watching to find out and join me on this emotional journey. Chapter 24 class ended and I still didn't give Ashton an answer. Before I had left, he told me to talk to him in gym. Entering math. Ashton and I's conversation runs through my mind over and over again. Josh smiles at me as I walk over to my desk. You look extremely distracted. What's up? Josh asks as I sit down. I pause, unsure if I should tell Josh or not. I just had to sit through a lecture. It was terrible. Josh chuckled, but then stopped, like he said something he shouldn't have. Once again, I caught on. How could you hear about it? You're not in my class. I look at Josh suspiciously. This isn't the first time he said or done something then caught himself. I heard someone else complaining about it in the hall. Why are you so suspicious? Josh asks, changing the subject. I notice this change but ignore it. Of course someone was complaining about it in the hall. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Sorry, Josh. It seems like I've been suspicious of everything lately. The blue car comes to mind and I realize why I've been so suspicious of everything. A headache suddenly come on and I put my head in my hands, suddenly feeling exhausted. Are you okay? Josh asks softly, leaning towards me. I don't know, Josh. I sigh out, closing my eyes. The exhausted feeling stayed with me throughout the rest of class. Josh had dropped the subject, but I know it was only for my benefit. He kept giving me worried glances and, more than once, had tried to say something, only to again cut himself off. I could hardly pay attention in class. I guess it was just one of those days. Instead of listening to the new math material, I stared at the clock, hoping for it to move faster. It didn't, and I continued to stare at it. Less than a minute before class was to end, I start packing up and quickly head to the door. The bell rang and I left. I walked quickly to communications, knowing that we would only be working on our Romeo and Juliet scenes. I would have to memorize our scene pretty quickly. We would probably have to perform later this week. I walk into class and immediately spot Catherine at her desk, writing madly on a piece of paper. Going over to my seat, her head pops up and she sees me. Hey Evie, she says quickly as she looks back down at whatever she was writing. Hi. I respond as I sit down. I'm writing and blocking for our scene. Catherine says, unknowingly answering my unasked question. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I respond. Class starts a few minutes later and Catherine continues to write, in blocking even while Mr. Johnston is talking. He dismisses us to work, mentioning that we have to perform on Thursday or Friday of this week. Immediately after we're dismissed, Catherine descends on us in a frenzy of things we need to do. We need to get costumes and props. We need to learn our parts and learn blocking for our scene. Catherine, this is just a class scene. We aren't on Broadway. I tell her, fighting a smile. She turns to me with a smile. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I thought you knew me better. I never go only halfway. Catherine resumes listing off things we need to do. My homework, told to me by Catherine, is to memorize my script as soon as possible. Communications ends quicker than math did and soon enough. Catherine, Grant and I are walking to lunch. Briefly, I'm reminded of the last time I walked with Grant to lunch and what we walked into. My train of thought follows and I'm soon remembering this morning. We enter the lunchroom and I try to get rid of the thoughts that are running through my mind. I walk over with Catherine and Grant to our table. Suddenly, I feel eyes on the back of my head, trying to be inconspicuous. I start glancing around the cafeteria. Ashton's eyes bore into mine as I make eye contact with him. His blue eyes shine in the light and a small, crooked smile comes onto his face. I feel my cheeks turn red and I have to turn away. Stupid. 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 I curse myself as I turn my back to him. Stupid emotions. Why can't you behave? Lunch, for the first time ever, drags on. It feels like his eyes never look anywhere but me. I can feel them staring into the back of my head. As soon as the bell rings, I am out of my seat and off to my next class. I walk swiftly through the halls and I am the first one in French. I take my seat and lay my head down on my desk. With nothing to do but think, I start thinking of Ashton's proposed date. Did I really want to go on a type of date with him? My memory reminds me of the horrible, mean things he did to me, starting with rejecting me on the first day of school. I still don't know what that means. Every mean thing he did to me suddenly floods into my brain. Being pushed to the ground, him manhandling me where those bruises were, outright threatening me. Anger courses through me. How dare he ask me out after what he's done? The bell rings, signaling the start of class, but also signaling my decision. I don't want to go on a date with him. French goes by quickly, and my anger never disappears. I find myself looking excited to say no right in his face. At the bell, I pack up my things and head to science. Reaching the door to the classroom, I see Josh. My anger wavers a little bit, and instead, guilt starts to form in place of the anger. I feel bad for the way I treated Josh this morning. All those pent-up feelings about Ashton, especially when he asked me out. And I just let them out in the form of exhaustion and suspicion. I walk in and go to my seat. Josh's head pops up and makes eye contact with me as I sit down. I give him a small smile. "Hi, Josh," I say softly. "Hi, Evie." His voice just as soft. "Listen." I start talking immediately. "I'm sorry for this morning. I probably came off really rudely and I'm sorry. For some reason, I was just exhausted and it decided to come out at that time. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." Josh says kindly, cutting me off from my spiel. "I understand. We all get exhausted and there's no need to apologize for it." I sigh in relief. "Thank you, Josh." Josh laughs lightly. "There's no need to thank me, Evie. But I'll take it anyway." I playfully scowl at him and hit him in the shoulder. Josh laughs a little louder and nudges my shoulder with his. Class starts before I can say anything else and was surprised with a pop quiz. I join the class when we all groan in annoyance. Josh and I don't get another chance to talk at all during class. Walking to gym with Josh, my thoughts trail to Ashton. I feel a smile from on my face as I think about how I'm going to say no. The anger that disappeared during science returns as I walk. "What are you so happy about?" Josh asks, probably noticing my smile. "Nothing," I say evasively. "Just happy that the day's almost over." To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Josh sounds like he doesn't believe me. "Well, I guess enjoy your last class." "I will." Josh turns down a different hall to head to his next class and I keep walking to gym. Entering the gym, I'm surprised to feel relieved that Ashton isn't here yet. I quickly head to the changing rooms where I suspect Catherine is already there. "Hi, Evie," Catherine says right as I enter. "Hey," I respond cheerfully. "How's your day?" She asks as she finishes changing while I open my locker to get my gym clothes. I groan out as I start changing. "Really?" Catherine chuckles. "How so?" I groan again. "A lecture in the morning and a pop quiz in the afternoon." Catherine laughs. "That doesn't sound too bad. You weren't there." I try to sound mockingly mad, but I ruin it with a smile. I finish putting on my tennis shoes and Catherine and I start to head out. We enter the gym and my eyes start to sweep. My eyes find Ashton's. He raises his eyebrow in question. probably asking me in his mind if I came up with an answer. I look away and follow Catherine. My anger seemed to dissipate the moment I looked at him. I'd kind it in me to say, no, right in his face. My excited mood wavers as I follow Catherine into the middle of the gym. Mr. Guy starts class almost immediately after everyone is seated. Not surprisingly, we're playing soccer again. But this time Mr. Guy has already chosen the teams. He calls out the teams and I'm relieved to hear that Catherine and I are on the same team and that Ashton is not on our team. We start playing and right off the bat, Ashton's team scored. I do my best to stay away from Ashton throughout our game. However, while I'm trying to stay away from him, Ashton seems to be trying everything to be near me. He'll kick the ball towards me. He'll run towards me, even when I think it's quite obvious that I don't want the ball. The game continues in the same way. Ashton trying to get near me, probably to try and talk, and me trying to avoid him. I don't know why I'm suddenly very nervous to talk to him, but I can feel the nerves boiling up in my stomach. The game ends and we all leave to go get changed. I almost run to the changing rooms, wanting to get out of here. Changing quickly. I'm in my normal clothes before Catherine starts changing, saying a quick goodbye, and giving the excuse that I'm being picked up early. I leave the changing rooms and start heading to the front of the school. Instead of watching where I was going, I was fiddling with my backpack and trying to get it zipped up. I accidentally hit a wall. The hands grasp my shoulders and I realize it's not a wall. Looking up into Ashton's eyes, I briefly remember my first meeting with him when I had also crashed into him. A tingly, like feeling starts in my stomach and spreads throughout my body. You okay? Ashton asks with a smile, obviously more happy that I crashed into him than I am. Yeah. I shrug off his hands and he, seemingly reluctantly, lets his hands drop. I go to step beside him, but he blocks my path. Do you have an answer? He asks me. Thoughts from this morning flash through my head, knowing I'm going to agree, then doubting, then knowing I'm going to say no. Instead I say, I don't know. Ashton cocks his eyebrow, like he had in the gym. You don't know if you want to go out or you don't know if you have an answer. Knowing it's neither of those options, I realize what I don't know. Why do you even want to go out with me? Ashton shrugs, but his eyes and posture suddenly become guarded. Why not? The anger appears again and I scoff angrily. Oh, I don't know. Maybe because you treated me like shit for weeks, when I didn't even do anything to you. Maybe because this is just some pity date. Maybe because you only want to get in my pants like you do with all the other girls. I'm almost shouting by the time I'm done ranting. Ashton's expression had turned into a grimace as I was talking. He takes a deep breath. Please, Evie, I promise that it's none of those reasons. A sudden calm comes over me, but it's filled with anger, no. His hopeful expression falls and a twinge of regret starts forming in my stomach. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nobel, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Please, you have to listen. I cut him off. No, Ashton grasps my shoulders in a hard grip. My hands immediately goes to his to try to get them off my shoulders, but he holds me in a vice grip. However, it's not painful. It feels kind of nice. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nobel, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. This morning I asked for a chance. I'm asking again for just a chance. Ashton's eyes bore into mine as a pleading tone laces his voice. The word no gets stuck in my throat as I look into his eyes, which are pleading for me to understand. Realizing something, I give a small, but tired, "You're not going to take no as an answer, are you?" A breathtaking smile takes over his lips and I find it hard to look away from them. No. A tired sigh comes from my lips because I know I'm not going to win this. And I'm pretty sure Ashton knows too. Before I can get the words out, Ashton's arms enfold around me in a hug. I freeze at this close proximity, but Ashton doesn't seem to notice. His head buries in my neck and his arms become tighter around me. Ashton's warmth envelops around me and I'm surprised to realize that I like this. Realizing that I like this, I quickly get out of his arms by taking a step back and moving my arms so that he can no longer hug me. Once he lets go, I take another step back for good measure. Ashton's face falls a little, but his hands fall to his sides. I can feel a blush that is staining my cheeks, and I quickly duck my head. Without looking up at Ashton, I quickly sidestep him and resume walking to the front of the school. Much to my satisfaction, Ashton doesn't follow me. By Evie, Ashton calls after me. I can hear the smile in his voice. Chapter 25. The next day, Ashton asked me what day would be best for our date. I told him Friday night. He agreed and told me he would pick me up at 6. The next day, he asked me what I wanted to do. I told him that I didn't know. The next day, he said he knew of a restaurant that we could go to, and I agreed to it. And soon enough, it was Friday morning. Waking up, knowing I had a date tonight, was nerve-wracking. Every day, Ashton had tried to make conversation with me. He would even go as far as trying to hug me again. I made sure we never got that far. I almost decided to hesitate in what I was going to wear today, but then I remembered I didn't care, and that the date was tonight, not during the school day. Going through school with the knowledge that I had a date tonight was weird. I felt like a lot of people were looking at me as I would walk past. I felt like they knew something that I didn't, and it aggravated the hell out of me. Even Josh seemed to be a little more happy and excited than normal. As weird as the day was, it ended, and soon enough, I find myself getting ready for the date. Looking through my closet, I try to find something nicer than normal. I have a feeling that we're going to a nicer restaurant. Spotting my light blue, knee-length dress, I pull it out and look at it. To thin straps, a tight bodice that flows down to the knees at the waist. No frills, no line, just a simple, light blue dress, paired with white flats. I think this would be a nice outfit to wear. I change into the dress and search through the floor of my closet for my white flats. Not finding them, I realize that they're downstairs. Sighing, I walk out of my closet and walk over to my makeup, looking at the foundation, eyeliner, eyeshadow, blush, and lip gloss. I can't decide if I want to put on more makeup than usual. I don't want to treat this as a real date because it's Ashton. He's a jerk, if I'm being honest. But I can't feeling that I need to put my best foot forward. I can't help liking him despite him being a douche. It doesn't connect in my brain. Picking up my foundation, I decide to use it along with my black eyeliner and blush. That's not too much, and it doesn't say, trying too hard. Yet it's nicer than normal, which is what I want to go for. Looking at myself in the mirror, I cock my eyebrow at myself. Why am I making such a big deal out of this? I shouldn't, is the right answer. I'm not. I lie to my reflection. I carefully massage the foundation into my skin, followed by the thin line of eyeliner on my eyelids and a small sweep of pink blush on my cheeks. Giving myself a small smile, I turn around and am about to leave my room, when I remember my phone is sitting on my nightstand. I quickly turn back around and grab it. I would have to carry it around to wherever we go. Not wanting to do that, I walk back to my closet in search for a purse. Spotting my small white one, I grab it and put my phone in it, slinging it over my shoulder. I walk out of my room. I go downstairs to the living room and am about to sit down on the couch when I realize the time. Ashton is supposed to be here in 5 minutes. Cursing the time in my head, I quickly walk over to the closet by the garage where we store a multitude of things, including shoes. I immediately spot my white flats and quickly slip them on. Pushing the garage button, it starts making a lot of noise and it opens. The fresh air greets me instantly. I walk outside and close the garage door, almost as if it was waiting for me to come outside. A car pulls up at the end of the driveway. I can't see who it is due to the seemingly tainted windows, but I know it's Ashton. I walk out the front door, turn around and lock it, and head to the car. When I'm about 5 feet away, feeling a sense of déjà vu wash over me. The car, which I thought was black, is actually blue. I must have been frozen for too long because a second later, Ashton opens the driver's side door and gets out. To my agent extraordinaire, Marilyn Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. What's wrong? Ashton asks as he gets out of the car. He takes one look at my expression, probably a mixture of distress and confusion, and rushes over to my side. What's wrong? Ashton repeats, though this time his voice is hard with concern. His arms circle around me without my consent. I look up to see him looking around us suspiciously, as if he thinks someone is watching us. My sense comes rushing back at me. Ashton pauses and looks at me curiously. I shift my body and shrug his arms off of me and take a step. My suspicion ray ignites. You've been the one who's been sitting outside my house for the past couple of weeks. Even this morning. You're the one who's been stalking me. In this car. I ground out, my anger appearing again, being fueled by my distrust. Ashton pauses and looks guilty, and I know I've caught him. I turn around to head back in the house, furious at myself for even agreeing to go on this thing, when a hand catches my wrist and tugs me back. I land in Ashton's chest and his arms once again go around me. This time, however, I start struggling to get out immediately. Ashton chuckles. You have it all wrong, Evie. I can tell he's lying, but decide to play along for a second. So that isn't you every morning. Disbelief is clear in my voice. He chuckles again. No, that is me. But I'm not stalking you. My friend lives that is picking him up each morning. My disbelief wavers, but I can still see flaws in his excuse. I've never seen anyone come out of that house. He's already in the car when I see you leave. You always leave after me. Coincidence. You always pass the school. I'm picking up another friend. I hesitate, realizing that he is an answer to every accusation. I feel a smile spread onto Ashton's face, and I know that he knows that he won. I scowl in annoyance. You don't have to hug me every time you see me. I say gruffly as I shrug off his arms again. A smirk forms on Ashton's face, but he doesn't say anything. He opens the passenger side door and I get into the car. Ashton walks around the car with a smile on his face, and though he doesn't see me, I scowl at him in annoyance. Why the hell did I even agree to go on this thing? The door opens and Ashton slides in the driver's seat. What are you scowling? Ashton asks me as he starts driving. Why the hell did I even agree to go on this thing? I answer his question with a question of my own. I meant for it to be rhetorical, but Ashton answered anyway. Because you wanted to. Try again. Because you wanted to give us a try. Try again. Ashton sighs. Because I wouldn't have left you alone until you agreed to go out with me. Finally the truth. I exclaim sarcastically. Ashton gives me a sideways glance and a very dry laugh, but he doesn't respond. I don't make any move to start conversation again, so silence falls over the us. Surprisingly, it's more comfortable silence than awkward silence. I glance at Ashton quickly and am surprised to see that he looks frustrated at something. I mentally shrug and again look out the window. The forest brushes past us. I can tell we aren't headed in the direction of the town, and instead it seems like we're specifically driving away from the town. I glance at Ashton again and find myself slightly relieved to see that he seems to know where we're going. Looking back out the window at the trees that are flying by, I can't help but feel small. The forest is so huge and majestic in its own way. We continue driving, but the silence never leaves. Right as it's starting to feel awkward, Ashton makes a right and we pull into a parking lot for a small, white marbled restaurant that's surrounded by the forest. Soft light shines from the huge windows in front. I can see light also coming from side windows that spills out into the forest. I feel my mouth draw open a slight as I take in the nice restaurant. I'm glad I decided to dress up a little nicer. I could feel Ashton watching my expression, so I turn to face him. Where did you find this place? I ask amazed. Ashton smiles, probably happy that I like the place. It was an accident. My family was driving back from a vacation, and we took a wrong turn and we found it. I can't lie. This place is amazing. Lucky. Ashton says as he opens his door and gets out of the car. I follow his lead and take off my seatbelt and reach for the door handle. But Ashton beats me to it and opens the door for me. I look at him questionably, faintly wondering why he's being so gentlemanly. I decide not to question him on it. Liking the change, I step out of the car and Ashton closes the door. I hear a beep and assume it's Ashton locking the car. We start walking towards the entrance. Once we reach the doors, like the car door, Ashton opens it for me. I give him a small smile in thanks. He follows after me, but my attention is now on the inside of the restaurant. Just like the outside, the inside of the restaurant is magnificent. Small chandeliers hang from the ceiling, their soft light glowing down to the floor of the restaurant. White tablecloth tables are scattered along the floor of the restaurant, all holding a candle. The large windows make it seem as if the restaurant is much bigger on the inside. Wow. The word spills from my mouth. I see Ashton smile in my direction out of the corner of my eye. You like it? To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I pause, searching for the right word. Fancy. I turn towards Ashton and see that he's still smiling in my direction. I raise my eyebrow in questioning, but he just shrugs. Ashton walks to the podium where a man with a clipboard is. I have reservations. My eyes are wide in shock. I didn't expect him to make reservations. Truly, I didn't expect anything near to this type of restaurant in the first place. I try to make my eyes go back to normal before anyone notices. Name please, the man says. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Ashton responds. The man looks over his clipboard. Yes, right this way please. He starts walking and Ashton falls into step behind him. I quickly take a couple of steps and fall into step next to Ashton. The man leads us to the left side of the restaurant and seats us in a table right next to one of the windows. The man gestures to the table. Here you are. Thank you. I respond. The man smiles at me and then turns around and heads back to the podium at the front. Ashton says quietly as he pulls out my chair. I feel my cheeks heat up immediately. I guess I'm not used to this chivalry. Nonetheless, I sit down and Ashton pushes the seat in. I immediately look down at the nice tablecloth in hope that my blush might disappear quickly. Out of the corner of my eye, I see Ashton sit down across from me. What are you looking at? He asks softly, but I can hear that he's trying to hold in laughter. I think he saw the tablecloth. I mumble quickly, feeling my cheeks heat up again. Ashton laughs quietly and I glance up and give him a small scowl. It doesn't last long and a couple seconds later, the scowl turns into a smile. A waiter walks up to our table with 2 menus. Hello, my name's George and I'll be your server today. He hands us each a menu and points to the drink section. What would you like to drink? Iced tea, please. I say immediately and George writes it down. Coke, please. Ashton says next and George writes that down too. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I will be back with those, George says. He then walks away and, presumably, heads to get our drinks. Silence falls over Ashton and I. Again, but I try to ignore it by searching through the menu. However, the silence quickly disappears when Ashton clears his throat. What looks good? He asks me, looking through his own menu. I chuckle. A lot of stuff. Ashton smiles. If I may, can I make a suggestion? I put down my menu and cock my eyebrow. Since when do you ask to do things? He puts down his own menu. Since I want to make a good impression. Ashton looks directly into my eyes as he says this and a serious expression crosses his face. I can't seem to look away, so instead I awkwardly clear my throat. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. What's your suggestion? The seriousness disappears and the smile returns. Try the steak. It's amazing. I open my menu again and find the steak. Just by reading the description I can tell it's good. That does sound really good. As if on cue, the waiter returns with our drinks. Here you are. Have you looked at the menu and decided what you would like? Ashton answers first. Yes, we have. We would both like the steak. I would like my medium rare. He trails off and looks at me. Medium rare also. I say to the waiter. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbert. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. The waiter says, and you would both like the green beans and mashed potatoes that come with the steak. Yes, Ashton and I say at the same time. We glance at each other and, while Ashton smiles, I blush. The waiter also smiles. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbert. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. He walks away without order. So Ashton starts talking as soon as the waiter is out of earshot. I want to learn more about you. I snort. Why Ashton smiles. But I can tell he's nervous. Why wouldn't I? I smirk and remember one of my favorite movie quotes. Do you want me to answer chronologically or alphabetically? He cocks an eyebrow. What? It's a movie quote. I explain quickly. From which movie? Ashton's back to smiling. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbert. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Doubting he could actually guess the movie. A thoughtful expression crosses his face. And for a minute, it's silent between us while he thinks. I don't know. What is it? I give him a tight-lipped smile and make the motion of a zipper crossing over my lips. My lips are sealed. But I'll tell you one day. I'll hold you to that. Ashton holds up his drink, as one would for a toast. As he says this, I don't doubt him, but I can't help the feeling of butterflies in my stomach at thought of another date with Ashton. I'm pretty sure that's what he's hinting at. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbert. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I smile. Not exactly against the idea of another date. Ashton puts his drink down after he's taken a sip. Anyways, as I was saying, I want to know you better. I hold my tongue, really wanting to give him a sharp retort. But instead I decide to give him a chance. What do you want to know? Ashton smiles mischievously. What do I want to know? He says slowly. I roll my eyes at him, but let him continue. How about I start simple? Favorite school subject? Honors communications. I respond immediately. Really? Why, Ashton asks Mr. Johnston is the best teacher I've ever had. And the class is fun. I respond with a shrug. Ashton makes a humming noise in his throat. Mine is Jim. I laugh at his serious expression, which cracks into a smile at my laughter. What? Jim is a perfectly fine class to like. He defends himself. Moving on. Favorite color? My mind instantly goes to my date with Josh and how he asked the same question. So I respond with the same answer I gave Josh. It depends on the day and how I'm feeling that day. Interesting. Ashton looks thoughtful. What is it today? I think for a couple of seconds before I give him my answer. Forest green. I look out the window at the dark forest, barely being able to see the green of the forest. I see Ashton follow my line of sight in my peripheral vision. Do you like the forest? At first I didn't. I still kind of don't. Too many bugs. But it is beautiful, isn't it? I respond quietly, still looking at the forest. Ashton responds quietly and I turn to look at him, expecting him to be looking out the window. But instead he's looking at me. We make eye contact quickly, but I look away and focus again on the table. Ashton must have sensed my discomfort. Favorite food? Again remembering my date with Josh. I respond thinking of that milkshake. I had thought it was this milkshake. But now that I think about it, I really don't know. There's too many to choose from. Mine's meat. It doesn't matter what kind. Just meat. Ashton says confidently. I laugh and remember that was pretty much exactly the same way Josh answered. What's so funny? Ashton asks, confusion lays in his tone. Nothing, I say through chuckles. Just that you have the same answer. I stop myself, remembering that Josh and Ash and Ashton don't really like each other. As who? Ashton asks slowly. I pause. No one. Just a friend of mine. Ashton continues to push. Do I know this friend? A flash of anger spikes through me. Why does it matter if you know this person? Ashton grimaces. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Milburn. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I didn't mean to intrude. Forget it. My anger dies down and I decide to change the topic quickly. Favorite animal? Ashton smiles widely. Wolf. I cock my head to the side, curious about his choice of animal. Why the wolf? There's a small pause before Ashton answers. I like how they're protective of the people they love. Like their pack. Wolves are very loyal to their pack and will always have each other's backs. They're also really strong, in physical and mental sense, and I admire them for that. My mouth almost drops open at how full his answer was. I cannot believe that something that deep came out of Ashton's mouth. I can tell he's not lying due to the sincerity that is reflected in his eyes. He seems to really know these creatures. Do you have a favorite animal? Ashton asks after a few seconds of me just staring at him. My thoughts scramble to think of an answer to this simple question. Ashton makes a humming noise in his throat. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Milburn. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I blush slightly. I couldn't think of anything and tiger was the first thing that came to mind. You don't have a favorite animal? Ashton asks. I think for a second, no. There's too many to choose from. You seem to be very indecisive. Ashton concludes. So, there's nothing wrong with that. I retort playfully, already aware of how indecisive I am. Ashton laughs quietly. Favorite season? Spring. I respond. And yours? Hold on. Ashton responds with another question. Why spring? That's when the flowers are blooming. I respond, feeling very self-conscious with that answer. Ashton looks thoughtful. I never realized that. Of course not. You're a guy. You won't notice when the flowers are blooming. He chuckles again. I guess you're right. Do you have a favorite flower? I playfully narrow my eyes at him. Why are you planning to get me said flowers? An innocent expression crosses Ashton's face, but I can see through it. Of course not. He says sarcastically, wanting to get off the topic of getting me flowers. I go back to my question. Your favorite season? Summer, definitely. Ashton responds quickly. Why am I not surprised? I mutter sarcastically. I have a logical reason. Ashton insisted. Sure you do. I say sarcastically. What's your logical reason? Ashton smiles in triumph. I get to spend more time with friends and family and doing the things I love. I scoff. Well, not as deep as your wolf comment. I'm still a guy. He argues playfully. That's no excuse. I retort with a smile. The waiter interrupts our conversation. Here we are. He places each of our plates in front of us. The smell of the steaks immediately wafts up and embeds itself in my nose. Thank you. I say to him as I pick up my knife and fork and begin cutting my steak. He nods in my direction and walks away. I cut a piece of steak, which cuts just like butter, and pop it into my mouth. Instantly, an attack of spices and well-cooked meat floods my mouth. I almost moan at the taste. I quickly cut another piece and pop that into my mouth, unable to resist this delicious steak. Mid-cut into my next piece, I happen to glance up and notice Ashton staring at me. Instead of diving into his own steak, his head is cocked a little bit to my left, and his mouth is partway open, as if he's amazed at me eating. I stop cutting the steak. What? My cheeks heat up at the thought of Ashton watching me eat like a crazy person. Ashton seems to realize his staring and quickly glances down and starts cutting his own steak. Nothing. He almost sounds embarrassed. He knows he's been caught. I smile at the top of his head and go back to cutting my own steak. For about a minute, the only noise between us is the clinking of silverware against plates. I don't mind that there's no conversation. The steak is amazing, and I don't like Ashton mine's either. Half of his steak is gone too. How are you liking your steak? I ask sarcastically. Ashton looks at me and smiles, to which I return my own smile. Ashton swallows. Great. How's yours? I don't think he's being sarcastic. Amazing, I say genuinely, looking a little lost at what to say. Ashton mumbles quietly. That's good. He starts cutting his steak again, this time at a slower rate. I follow his lead and start cutting my own steak again, also at a slower rate. The sound of silverware hitting plates again fills the silence. Favorite TV show? Ashton says suddenly, probably not being able to ignore the silence anymore. American or British? He looks confused. Is there a difference? I gasp comedically, but with an actual hint of concern. Is there a difference? I mock him. Of course there's a difference. The British have much better shows than we do. Really? Like what? Ashton asks, looking amused at my gasp. I hold up my hand and start counting them off my fingers. Doctor Who, Sherlock, Wallender, Top Gear, Broadchurch. The list goes on. A thoughtful look crosses Ashton's face. I've only heard of one of those. Which one? Doctor Who. A satisfied smile crosses my face. Good. Everyone needs to know about Doctor Who. Ashton smiles at me. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. He says sarcastically. I shrug my shoulders. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. So what's your favorite TV show? I don't really watch TV. Only rarely. Ashton says nonchalantly as he continues to cut his steak. A small bush covers my cheeks again. Here I am, naming off TV shows on my fingers. And he doesn't watch TV. If there's any time to feel unproductive. Favorite holiday? Ashton again restarts the conversation. I think for a few seconds. All the holidays rushing through my brain. I like all of them for different reasons. New Year's because it's a time for celebration. 4th of July is for fireworks. Halloween is for costumes. And Christmas is a time for family. I stop giving examples when I notice that Ashton is staring at me with what can only be described as awe. What? I ask a little self-conscious. I understand how you felt about my wolf come in tow. I say awkwardly, trying to ignore the blatant I in his voice, trying to ignore how it seemed to be directed at me, realizing I wasn't hungry anymore. I tried to convince myself that it was because of the falling steak. I put down my fork and knife. Ashton noticed. You're not hungry anymore. Nope. The steak was so full, I say with a small smile. Not even for dessert. Ashton asks, though I can't help but hear something in his voice that suggests something more. I raise my eyebrow. I could play this game. What were you thinking? A mischievous smile crosses Ashton's face and he leans in. His hand motions for me to move closer to him so he can whisper in my ear. I comply. Well, to my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. A shiver runs through me when his lips brush against my ear as he talks. I was thinking that we should try something a little daring. Like what? My voice is a hushed whisper. I can't help but think of what he's suggesting, and I find myself excited to see where this goes. My stomach erupts in butterflies and I can feel my cheeks blushing. Anticipation is coursing through my veins. Like, he whispers again before turning and looking into my eyes. Dark chocolate cake. Ashton finishes his sentence in a normal tone and sits back. His face is a calm expression, but I can see the playfulness in his eyes. Cake, I say slowly, raising my eyebrow again. Dark chocolate cake. Ashton clarifies with a smirk. The butterflies don't calm down and I know that the blush didn't disappear either. No thanks. The smirk doesn't leave Ashton's face. To my agent extraordinaire, my heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Are you sure yet? I don't really like desert much. A complete and utter lie. The smirk doesn't disappear either. I'll hold you to that. The waiter appears and puts the check in a leather holder on the table, probably hearing the last part of our conversation. Ashton immediately picks it up, opens it and places money in it. He closes it, hands up. I follow his lead and we leave the restaurant. We reach the car and Ashton opens the door for me. I try to hide my smile, but I'm pretty sure Ashton saw it anyway. I get into the car and Ashton shuts the door. He walks over to the driver's side and gets in, but doesn't start the car. I look at him curiously. Ashton looks nervous, but he opens his mouth to speak. Did you like the date? I find myself smiling. Yeah, it was a lot better than I originally thought it would be. Ashton looks at me suspiciously. What did you think it would be like? I smile evasively and look out the window. Nothing. There's a pause and then I hear Ashton take a deep breath. To my agent extraordinaire, my heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I turn to face Ashton again and am surprised to see him a couple of inches away from my face. Before I can move away, one of his hands goes to the back of my head and his lips descend upon mine. His lips are warm as they kiss me. They seem to perfectly fit to mine and I find myself kissing him back. Tiny sparks shoot through my body starting from his lips. A warm feeling starts in my stomach and I find I'm enjoying this kiss. The kiss is short and sweet. And soon, Ashton pulls away. He leans his forehead against mine and I feel his hand start running through my hair. We're both breathing a little heavier than normal. What was I am cut off by Ashton's lips again. This time, however, his hand that's in my hair grips it painfully. His tongue rushes into my open mouth and wreaks havoc. This kiss is a lot more demanding. I find myself being forced to respond to his demanding kiss, and I don't like it. The sparks that had felt nice gnaws at me with a new ferocity. It's almost painful. My hands go to his chest and start trying to push him away. My attempts are useless and Ashton keeps on kissing me. Stop, I try to say, but I'm sure it came out as a mumble. It doesn't matter because Ashton seems to be demanding more out of this kiss. His hand that's in my hair pushes me forward until there's only a sliver of air between us, and that's only because my hands are there trying to get him off me. Which is in my mouth, searches through my mouth at a quicker rate. My tongue tries to fight him off but instead, it seems to excite him more. Ashton, stop. I yell, again trying to get his attention and his mouth off of me. This time, Ashton seems to hear it and stops kissing me. He once again leans his forehead against mine and is again breathing heavy. I feel his hand leave my hair. His eyes are closed and a satisfied smile is on his face. I take my chance and push him away roughly. This time it works and Ashton is pushed backward, his eyes opening abruptly. What? Ashton asks, still with that stupid smile on his face. My anger boils over and I reach out and slap him hard. His smile leaves his face and I can see a slight red mark on his cheek where I slapped him. What was that for? Ashton asks, irritated. His hand goes to his cheek and massages it a little. You bastard. I hiss at him, moving as far back away from him as I can. He seems to realize what just happened and regretful expression falls over his face. Shit. To my agent extraordinaire, my heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I didn't realize. Shit. Ashton stumbles over his words. His hand reaches out, grasps my wrist and tries to pull my arm towards him. Don't touch me. His hand recoils as if something just bit him. I snatch my hand back. Hurt fills his expression. To my agent extraordinaire, my heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I scowl and glare at him, daring him to touch me again. I realize that I'm bunched up against the door, as far away as I can get from him. Take me home. Ashton's hurt expression falls even more, but he doesn't respond. He admits defeat and starts the car. He starts driving, not taking his eyes off the road. And I don't take my accusing eyes off him. I'm not giving him another chance to come near me again. A tense silence falls over us and neither of us do anything to break it. The car ride seems to go by faster and I'm glad for it. I feel so tricked to think that this would have actually been nice. He pulls up in front of my house and I quickly take off my seatbelt and open the door. I get out of the car as quickly as I can, but Ashton catches my wrist again. I whip my head around and glare at him. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I'm truly sorry. Please. I didn't mean to. I cut him off again. Don't ever talk to me again, Ashton. I rip my wrist out of his grip and rush into my house, as far away as I can get from him. Chapter 26. Thank the heavens for the weekend. Sitting in front of the TV, ranting in my head about that stupid date and my stupid idea that it would actually be good. Still ticked off about him violating my mouth. A little voice in the back of my head can't help but remind me of the first kiss. It was short, sweet, and I actually enjoyed it. Actually thought this could turn into something, and I would let it. I would take a chance and go for it. But he had to ruin it. He couldn't quit while he was ahead. He had to completely lose control and molest my mouth. I touch my lower lip and briefly. I can feel the tingles from the first kiss, and then the zaps from the second kiss. I rip my hand away. Thunder booms outside, followed by a heavy pelt of rain. Lightning immediately follows, and then there's another loud boom of thunder. I smile at the weather. It seems to know exactly how I'm feeling. As lightning cracks through the sky again, I try and remember the last time there was a thunderstorm. But I can't remember. Thunder booms and I remember how much I missed them. Getting an idea, I pick up my phone and dial a number that I should have called before agreeing to that date. I put my phone on speaker as it's ringing and wait for her to pick up the phone. Hello. Kristin's voice comes on over the phone. Did you get a new phone? Didn't my name come up? I ask her, confused. Her caller should say it's me. Kristin pauses. I'm sorry. Who's this? Kristin. Who's me? To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Another pause. I don't know an Evie. I groan, knowing she would do this. Kristin. I'm so sorry I haven't been calling you. I still don't know an Evie. Kristin, please. I say quieter. I have to talk to you about something important. You know, Evie, I have important things too. Kristin's irritated voice came through the speaker. Jackass kissed me. Kristin shouted. She's interested now. I hold back a chuckle. He kissed me. A high-pitched squeal came from Kristin. Was it good? Tell me it was good. Kristin. I yell at her in annoyance. Wait. We're talking about Ashton, right? That's his name, right? This isn't about the other one. Kristin questions me excitedly. I laugh at her excitement, though it's a tired laugh. Slow down. Yes, yes. And no, it's not about Josh. Wait. Who's Josh? Oh, he's the other one. Okay. How was the kiss? Both kisses. Kristin's excitement is almost tangible through the phone. Kristin. Calm down. I say quietly. What's wrong? The excitement in her voice falls. I sigh, thinking about how I want to tell her what happened. Do you want the whole story? There's a whole story that goes along with this. Kristin asks. I mean, he didn't just kiss me. There was a date first. I give details. You went on a date with him. Kristin shouts, her excitement rising. I laugh, yep. Kristin squeals. Tell me about the date. I smile, knowing she would want all the details. Well, we went to a restaurant. Was it a nice restaurant? Kristin cuts me off. Yes, it was very nice. Did he dress up nice? Did you dress up nice? Was the food good? Kristin is back to questioning me. I laugh again, already feeling better. Slow down. Yes, yes. And a definite yes. Okay. Go on. Kristin sounds like she is on the edge of her seat. Well, We went to the restaurant, and he started asking me questions like what? Kristin, stop interrupting me. I playfully reprimand her. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Go on. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. He asked me about my favorite things, like favorite food. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. The normal 20 questions. I tell her my date. When did you guys kiss? Kristin asks, anticipation lacing her voice. I'm getting to that. I notice my voice takes on a sad quality. Anyway, we left the restaurant and walked to his car. He asked me how I thought the date went and I said good, and then he kissed you. Kristin squeals, realizing I would have to pop the bubble. I brace myself for her reaction. Kristin. He kissed me twice. The first time was, admittedly, really sweet. But the second one, I pause. He pretty much molested my mouth. Kristin is silent for a moment. What do you mean? He kissed me once and I thought that would be it. But then he kissed me again. Except this time, he kept going. Even when I was trying to make him stop. He just continued to kiss me. It's like he didn't care about how far I wanted to go. Silence comes from Kristin's end after I finish talking about my experience. I wait for her to talk first, not knowing how she would respond. He's such a douche. Kristin exclaims. I laugh at her sudden outburst. What a man, howl. He needs to learn how to keep his mouth to himself. Kristin continues to rant about Ashton. A twinge of guilt runs through me as Kristin is ranting. Realizing this, I quickly squash it down and replace it with anger. I shouldn't have to feel guilty about anything. He was the one who went too far. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. You still there? Kristin asks, shaking away my thought. I answer, I asked you if you enjoyed the first kiss. Kristin says, probably repeated her question. I pause for a second. The immediate answer that comes to my mind is yes. I enjoyed it quite a lot. You did, didn't you? Kristin says, and I can hear the smile in her voice. I guess. I respond hesitantly. Don't lie to me, Evie. The smile is still in her voice. Did you enjoy it? Kristin. He violated my mouth. I try and distract her. Why does it matter if I enjoyed the first one? He completely ruined the date with the second one. Kristin surprises me when she laughs. I just realized something very important. And what's that? I ask her sarcastically. He's a guy. A laugh burst out of my mouth. What do you mean, he's a guy? Of course he's a guy. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. He's a guy. I think that he thought you wanted another kiss. Kristin's calm voice does nothing to make me calm. Kristin. He pushed past my boundaries. I try and explain. Remember that guy I went out with last year? Kristin suddenly asks me, surprised by the change of direction in the conversation. I can only answer. His name was Tyler. We dated for about a month. Kristin continues to tell her story. Her old boyfriend's face comes into my mind. Dirty blonde hair with brown eyes. About a half of a foot taller than you. Played baseball. The very one. What about him? I ask her, a little irritated. Well, she says, the same thing happened to me. We were on our first date and we kissed. But then he went back for seconds and he pushed past my boundaries. I was, to my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Mad, but the next day he explained that he wanted to kiss me again and he thought I wanted to kiss him again. He said he was sorry that he went past my boundaries. That was the first weekend, and we dated for 3 more weeks. What's your point? I asked her stubbornly. I knew what the point was, but I know I didn't want to admit it. She clicks her tongue. I think you know what the point is. Remembering how the relationship ended, I reminded Kristin. Didn't he cheat on you and that's why you guys broke up? I smugly ask her. That's not the point. Kristin snaps. It's still an important part of the story. I remind her in a smug voice. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nelben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Kristin starts in her normal voice after taking a deep breath. Talk to him. He might have just been excited and really wanted to kiss you. I sigh. You weren't there. He was attacking my mouth. I was pounding on his chest for him to stop and he didn't. Are you trying to convince me? Or yourself? What the hell do you mean by that? I explain. I mean exactly what I said. I can hear the smile in her voice. You know, when I called you I thought you would be on my side. I say, irritated, and trying to ignore Kristin's last question. She laughs. Expect the unexpected. Whatever. I mumble. So, what's the answer? Kristin asks, trying to play inconspicuous. What answer? To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nelben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. She taunts. You know what answer? I huff in annoyance. There is no answer. I'm not trying to convince anyone. Okay, sure. Kristin says quickly. Hey, Kristin cuts me off again. So what else is going on? Nothing. I grumble. Okay, good. I've got a story for you. Kristin immediately starts her story. So yesterday I was at hardware store to get project supplies for science class. With my science partner. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nelben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. We were looking for this plastic, bendy tube thing for the project. So this creepy guy comes up and asks us if we needed help. We said yes, so he took us to where we could get the tubing. This guy's friend shows up and they're talking. They were both looking at us creepily. So we said we had to go and we would come back tomorrow to pick up the stuff. The friend says to us, as we're trying to leave, I bet you want to come back for us. We don't respond as we walk away, at a normal pace, until we turn the corner and we sprint out of the store. It was one of the creepiest things ever. By the time she's done, I'm laughing until my lungs demand for air. That would so happen to you, I exclaim between laughs. Shut up, Evie. It's not funny. It was so creepy. Kristin shoots back. Are you going back tomorrow? I ask her as I continue to laugh. Hell no. Are you insane? Kristin shouts. I laugh harder. I think you should. You know what? To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nelben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. No one wants your opinion. Kristin says. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nelben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I laugh at her. Shut up. She mutters. Oh, Kristin, how I miss you. I say as my laughter dies down. I miss you too. She responds, her voice slightly sadder. But I'm still right. Thanks for ruining the moment. That's my job. Kristin responds sarcastically. But seriously, Evie, think about it. I sigh, thinking about what she said. Who am I trying to convince? You think about that. Kristin says kindly. Kristin, promise me you will. She insists. Sign again. I agree to her terms. Okay, good. Satisfaction is clear in her voice. But now, I'm sorry, my dear friend, but I have to go. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nelben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. My dear friend, I will talk to you soon. I respond. You better. The threat is clear in her voice. Love you. I love you too. She hangs up. I sigh and say to the air, oh, Kristin, Why do you have to be so right? Chapter 27. Walking into school on Monday morning. There was almost a foreboding feeling to the air, as if some type of unseen tension was in the air. I ignored the looks given to me almost as soon as I walked through the doors. I just walked straight to my class. My steps falter when I reach the classroom and see that Ashton is already seated at our table. However, his head doesn't shoot up when I enter the classroom like it usually does. I take a quick, deep breath, square my shoulders and continue to walk to my seat. There still isn't a reaction from him as I sit down. I open my backpack and take out my notebook for this class and a pencil. Glancing at the clock, I see that there is still about 4 minutes until class starts. I peek at Ashton through the corner of my eye and see that he's still writing in his notebook. An awkward silence blankets us. I start doodling on the front of my notebook. The crinkling of paper cuts through the silence and I see a frustrated Ashton ball up the paper he was writing on. He starts writing on a new piece of paper. Ignoring him, I go into my own world of doodling and daydreaming, remembering a snide bit of a TV show I watched last night about Australia. I start imagining what it would be like to actually go there. My thoughts are cut when the bell rings. Time went faster than I thought. Glancing at Ashton, I see that his balled-up piece of paper has been joined by 2 other balled-up pieces of paper. All right, class. Please get out your notebooks. We need to start immediately. I have a lot of information to give to you. I stop listening to Mr. Holland as I open my notebook to a new page. Sighing, I realize my hand is going to be extremely cramped by the end of this class. I was right. By the time Mr. Holland is done talking, my hand had cramped up at least 5 times. Each time I took a break from writing, I would miss a slide of the notes, making me groan inwardly. Stretching my hand out, I revel in the satisfaction of not having to write anymore. I look at the clock and see that the bell was going to ring in about half a minute. I close my notebook, which has 3 new pages of notes front and back, and put it in my backpack. Standing up, I hoist my backpack over my shoulders and walk towards the door where other students are also waiting to leave. Feeling an urge to turn around, I do, and my eyes land on Ashton. His blue eyes stare into my green ones. The intense gaze is full of sorrow and regret, and possibly just a little bit of hope. I turn back to face the doorway. Glancing at the clock, I watch the red tick and hand it towards its goal. The bell rings. I head to math class. I walk straight to math class, blocking my thoughts from everything except math. Despite my wanting to stay school-related, my thoughts scatter around Ashton. A quick, sharp jolt of longing shoots through me and I stumble. Glancing around, I notice that a couple of students noticed my stumble. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbert, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. To girls and a guy, watch me strangely, probably because I stumbled over nothing. I give them a small smile and continue on my way to math. Entering math, I'm surprised to see that I beat Josh here. I walk to my seat and set my backpack down, taking out my math things. I continue to glance at the door waiting for Josh to come rushing in. He doesn't and the bell rings. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbert, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Let's get started, Mrs. Flemington starts but is interrupted. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbert, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I got caught up talking to a teacher. Josh comes rushing into the classroom. Josh, how nice of you to show up, Mrs. Flemington says sarcastically. He gives her a sheepish smile as he walks to his seat. I give him a smile as he sits down, but he doesn't look at me. I look at him curiously, a little offended that he didn't look at me. My suspicions are proved wrong when Josh looks at me and winks. Mrs. Flemington starts class once again and begins going over her homework. I look over mine and see that I didn't do anything wrong this time. There's going to be a fire drill during next class. Josh suddenly whispers to me. What? Confused. A fire drill during next class? Josh states again. No, I heard you, but how do you know? A small chuckle comes from him. I just do. I gape at him. Josh, don't set off the fire alarm. He chuckles again. I'm not. Evie, Mrs. Flemington's voice cuts through the classroom. Yes, can you tell me how to solve this problem? She asks, gesturing to the board. I sneak a glance at Josh out of the corner of my eye and see that he is still smirking. Sure. First you need to get the equation equal to 0. Then you have to factor it. Thank you, Evie, Mrs. Flemington says as she turns back to the board to show what I just said. With her back turned, I whisper to Josh. How do you know, Chevy? I'm trying to do math. Josh whispers with a big smirk on his face. Jerk, I mutter. Unsurprisingly, Josh decides to hear that and he turns to playfully glare at me. Josh conveniently ignores the rest of my attempts to find out more about the fire drill. I try whispering to him, poking him with my pencil, throwing bits of paper at him, and even kicking the side of his leg. The latter received a glare. Eventually, I just accepted the fire drill. I liked my next class a lot. The bell rang and I still knew nothing about the fire drill. Packing up my stuff, I kept glancing at Josh hoping he would tell me something else. He only looked at me and winked, so I found that last problem a little tougher than the rest. Josh says conversationally, I didn't. I find a different problem tougher than the rest. I respond, giving him a pointed look. Josh playfully glares at me. Well, I only found that last problem hard. I decide to not respond as we walk out of the classroom. We head down the hall in the direction of my next class. Josh suddenly stops and glances behind him. Hey, Evie. I got to meet someone for a project. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I respond slowly. Josh starts walking down the way we came. Remember what I told you. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I respond again, although Josh is halfway down the hall and can't hear me. I start walking to my next class. Reaching the door, I see that Catherine is already here. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Catherine calls to me. Mr. Johnston graded our scene. We did fantastic. I reach for the grading sheet as soon as I'm at my seat. Mr. Johnston's neat handwriting is written all over our turned-in script and rubric. His comments in but nice and he gave us some helpful tips for the future. I look up at our score and see that we've aced the assignment. A smile graces my face as I look back at Catherine. Nice job, boss. She returns my smile. Hey, don't take all the credit. I respond. I take most of it. Who do you think whipped you all into shape? Catherine retorts. Knowing the answer, I only stick out my tongue. She smirks at me, knowing that I know what the answer is. Thought so, she says with a smile. The bell rings as a couple students rush into class, just making it Mr. Johnston gives then a disapproving look, but then smiles. He doesn't take tardies too seriously. All right, class. If you haven't heard from Catherine yet. He gives her a pointed look and she smiles sheepishly. I graded your scenes and handed them back to someone in your group. I'm happy to say that everyone did very well and I enjoy watching all of them. At that moment, the wailing of the fire drill goes off. I jump, the loud sound scaring me slightly, and sigh, knowing that Josh had something to do with it. Voices fill the classroom as people calm their frantic heartbeats down. The class files out and joins with other students who are walking down the hall to the nearest exit. Students surround me as we walk out. Feeling a little claustrophobic, I edge my way to the side of the wave of students. Walking along the side, I notice that I lost Catherine as we were walking out. But it turns into a squeak as two arms grab me from behind and pull me into a classroom. The arms stay around me once we're in the classroom. Panicking, I bend my arm and elbow whoever's holding me in the stomach. A masculine groan sounds behind me and the arms loosen. I immediately turn around to give a piece of my mind to whoever grabbed me. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I don't appreciate being elbowed so harshly, he says a little breathlessly, but I can still hear a hint of sarcasm. My confusion disappears and annoyance instead fills the gap. Oh, please. You were the one who scared the crap out of me by grabbing and dragging me into a classroom. Well, I thought you saw me. We both know that's a lie. I retort. By Ashton. I turn around and take a step towards the door. But arms wrap around me again. Hear me out, Evie. Ashton starts. No. I struggle against his hold. Just listen for a second. He continues. No. I continue to struggle. His arms loosen a fraction and I take my escape. I wrench his arms from me and break for the door. An exasperated sigh that comes from behind me is my only warning. Hands grip my wrists and I'm turned around. My back hits the door as Ashton holds my arms above my head. Ashton's eyes bore into mine. Just listen. Anger courses through my veins. Why the hell should I listen? I listen, lips silence me. The anger drains out of me as a feeling of butterflies fill my stomach. Tingles spread throughout my body starting from where his lips touch mine. Short and sweet. The kiss does what it was meant to do. No shush. Ashton says with a playful glint in his eyes. Or I'll do it again. I wisely keep my mouth closed. Ashton smirks. Thank you. I roll my eyes instead of responding. Seriousness covers his face. Now, please hear me out, Evie. His blue eyes stare into my green ones and don't find it in me to turn away. I really like you. I've liked you for a while now. I wouldn't have guessed. He kisses away my protest again. I know, and I will forever be sorry for that. And I mean it. I am so sorry. You didn't deserve any of that and... A frustrated sigh leaves his lips. I wish I could explain it, but I can't. And you deserve so much more than what I can give you. But I'm asking for a second chance. Ashton stops stalking and looks at me expectantly. I already gave you a second chance. To my agent extraordinaire, Moonlit, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. And look what happened. I respond forcefully and Ashton winces. You treated me like I was some slut ready to do anything. And I'm not. He winces again. I didn't mean to kiss you like that. I wanted to kiss you again after the first one and I couldn't control myself. Well, learn too. I retort. Ashton gives me a half smile but his eyes still stay regretful. I'm trying to. He says quietly. I am trying so hard to control myself. It keeps getting tougher. Especially when I'm around you. That doesn't make any sense. I say hesitantly. He smiles again. I know. So why are you telling me this? It was his turn to hesitate. He pauses and closes his eyes. His face shows his conflicting emotions as they run through his mind. A look of longing crosses his face and his eyes open. They betray his emotions. Please. To my agent extraordinaire, Moonlit, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I asked for this once before and now I'm asking again. I want to get to know you. And I know you have your own opinion of me. And I plan to change that. Please, give me that chance. I pause. I already gave you that chance. And look what happened. I realize that I just repeated what I said a couple minutes ago. But my feelings haven't changed. He sighs and his hands loosen from my wrists. They've loosened enough for me to easily rip my wrist free of his hands. But I don't. Ashton gives a short laugh. You have no idea how crazy I am about you. That's creepy. I respond meekly. I know. A grim look passes through Ashton's face. But it's absolutely true. I am utterly crazy about you, Evie. He says the last part quietly. His hands shift my wrists so they're being held by one of his hands. His other hand trails down my face and cups my cheek. As if on instinct, my head leans into his palm. A sigh leaves my mouth without my permission. I feel my cheeks and neck heat up and I quickly turn my head so Ashton's hand is no longer cupping my cheek. My gaze drops to the floor. Unable to look at him anymore. I hear him sigh, like he was expecting something but didn't get it. His hand drops from where my face was and his other hand lets go of my wrists. Muffled voices come from outside the classroom, signaling that the fire drill is over. Without saying anything, I turn around and turn the knob to leave. But I hesitate. A million thoughts race through my brain. It feels as if I'm pulled into ways, yes or no. The emotional side of my brain begs me to agree to one more chance. My brain conjures up images of us together, going on dates, hanging out. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. But the logical side of my brain reminds me why I have to say no. My memory pulls up those times when he hurt me, from the first day to the first date. Kristen and Josh both come to my mind. The conversations with both of them run through my brain. I realize they both were trying to tell me the same thing, take a chance. I look back at Ashton and the emotional side begs me to say yes. The same hopeful look comes into his eyes. Just like when he asked me out the first time. I know this could change everything. Yet there's a pull in me that wants that change, yes.